When we think about creatures that cause big problems, our minds might jump to sharks or lions. But some of the world's most troublesome animals are much, much smaller. I'm talking about insects. Two of the most infamous are the locust and the mosquito. On one hand you have the locust, a tiny grasshopper that can gather in giant swarms and eat entire fields of crops. On the other, you have the mosquito, a small fly whose bite can transmit deadly diseases. Both of these insects have a huge impact on human lives, but in very different ways. It makes you wonder, which one is actually worse for humanity? Let's dive in and find out. To figure out which insect wins the title of worst, we have to look at what makes each one so dangerous. Locusts attack our food supply. They threaten our ability to feed our families and communities. Mosquitoes, however, attack our bodies directly. They are vectors for diseases that have plagued humans for centuries. It's a classic showdown of problems. A threat to our resources versus a threat to our health. Both have caused incredible hardship throughout history, shaping how and where people live. Understanding their unique strategies is the first step in appreciating the scale of the challenge they each present to us. The comparison isn't just an academic exercise. For millions of people around the globe, these insects are not a distant thought, but a daily reality. A farmer in East Africa might fear the sky turning dark with a locust swarm, knowing it could mean ruin. A family in Southeast Asia might fear the buzz of a mosquito at dusk, knowing it could bring fever and sickness. Their stories are at the heart of this ultimate showdown. These creatures force us to develop new technologies, new strategies, and new ways of working together to protect ourselves, our food, and our health from their relentless pressure. So let's get ready to explore these tiny but mighty creatures. We will look at the life of a locust, from a lonely grasshopper to a member of a devastating swarm. We'll see the incredible damage they can do to agriculture and economies. Then we'll turn our attention to the mosquito, examining its life cycle and its role as one of the deadliest animals on the planet. By the end, we'll weigh all the evidence. We'll compare their impacts side by side to make a final call on which of these tiny terrors truly poses the greater threat to our world. It's going to be an incredible journey. What exactly is a locust? It's a special kind of short-horned grasshopper. Most of the time, these grasshoppers live quiet, solitary lives. They hop around, munch on plants, and don't cause much trouble. But when conditions are just right, usually after a period of drought followed by rapid vegetation growth, something amazing and terrifying happens. They undergo a dramatic change. Their bodies and brains transform, turning them into social, swarm-forming creatures. This is the secret to their power, the ability to go from a harmless insect to a member of a massive, hungry army that moves as one. This transformation is triggered by crowding. When lots of young locusts, called hoppers, are forced into small areas with plenty of food, they start bumping into each other. This physical contact releases serotonin in their brains, changing their behavior and even their color. They become attracted to each other instead of avoiding one another. This is how a swarm begins. These swarms can be unbelievably huge. A single swarm of desert locusts can cover hundreds of square miles and contain billions of individual locusts. They fly with the wind, traveling up to 90 miles a day in their search for food. The impact of a locust swarm on agriculture is catastrophic. A very small part of a swarm, about 1 square kilometer, can eat the same amount of food in one day as 35,000 people. They are not picky eaters either. They will devour almost any green thing in their path, including crops like corn, wheat, sorghum, and millet, as well as pasture land for livestock. For farmers who depend on their harvest to survive, a locust plague is a nightmare. In a matter of hours, a swarm can wipe out an entire year's worth of hard work, leaving behind bare stems and a devastating food shortage. History is filled with examples of their destructive power. The 2019 to 2021 desert locust upsurge in the Horn of Africa was one of the worst in decades, threatening the food security of millions of people across countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia. These swarms stripped fields bare, creating a massive humanitarian crisis on top of other existing challenges. Controlling them is incredibly difficult. It often requires large-scale aerial spraying of pesticides, which is expensive and can have its own environmental consequences. The locust's power lies in its numbers and its relentless, unstoppable hunger, making it a formidable foe for humanity. Now let's turn our attention to the other contender, the mosquito. Unlike the locust, this insect doesn't travel in massive visible clouds. Its danger is much more personal and stealthy. There are over 3,500 species of mosquitoes in the world, but only a small fraction of them are dangerous to humans. It's the females that bite. They need the protein and nutrients from blood to produce their eggs. When a female mosquito pierces our skin with her sharp proboscis, she injects saliva that prevents our blood from clotting. It's this saliva that can carry microscopic, deadly passengers. The mosquito is what we call a vector. A vector is any living thing that can pass a disease-causing pathogen from an infected animal or person to another without getting sick itself. The mosquito is the most effective vector in the world. When it bites someone who is already sick with a disease like malaria or dengue fever, it sucks up the pathogens along with the blood. These pathogens then multiply inside the mosquito's body. When the mosquito flies off to bite its next victim, it passes those pathogens along, spreading the disease from person to person with incredible efficiency. It's a silent, deadly delivery system. The list of diseases spread by mosquitoes is long and frightening. Malaria, caused by a parasite, is the most famous. It kills hundreds of thousands of people every year, mostly young children in sub-Saharan Africa. But there's also dengue fever, which can cause severe pain and bleeding. There's Zika virus, which can cause devastating birth defects, and there are chikungunya, West Nile virus, and yellow fever. Each of these illnesses brings immense suffering, overburdens healthcare systems, and can leave survivors with long-term health problems. The mosquito's bite is a tiny event that can have life-altering consequences. The global impact of mosquito-borne diseases is staggering. Beyond the tragic loss of life, these illnesses create a cycle of poverty. When people are sick, they cannot work or go to school. Families lose income and children miss out on their education. Healthcare systems in many developing nations are pushed to their limits trying to treat patients and control outbreaks. Efforts to fight mosquitoes, such as using insecticide-treated bed nets, spraying insecticides, and removing breeding sites in standing water, require constant vigilance and massive investment. The mosquito may be small, but its impact on human health and prosperity is enormous. So, we have our two contenders, the locust, a destroyer of crops and economies, the mosquito, a carrier of death and disease. To declare a winner in this grim showdown, we have to compare them directly. In terms of economic damage, the locust is a powerhouse. A major plague can cost billions of dollars in crop losses and control efforts, leading to famine and instability. The mosquito also has a significant economic impact through lost productivity and healthcare costs. But the locust's ability to wipe out an entire region's food supply in a short time gives it the edge in pure, immediate economic destruction. When we look at the direct threat to human health, however, the tables turn dramatically. Locusts are not directly harmful to people, they don't bite or sting, and they don't carry diseases. Their threat is indirect, they cause hunger and starvation. The mosquito, on the other hand, is arguably the deadliest animal on Earth. It is directly responsible for transmitting diseases that kill close to 1 million people every year and cause suffering for hundreds of millions more. On the scale of human life and well-being, the mosquito's impact is far more direct, personal, and lethal. There is simply no contest in this category. Let's also consider their ecological roles and the frequency of the problems they cause. Both insects have a natural place in their ecosystems, serving as food for other animals. However, their outbreaks represent a system thrown out of balance. Locust plagues are cyclical and episodic. They cause intense devastation but are not a constant, year-round threat everywhere. Mosquitoes, by contrast, are a persistent, chronic problem in vast regions of the world. Their threat doesn't come in waves, it's a constant daily risk for billions of people living in tropical and subtropical climates year after year. After weighing all the evidence, the verdict becomes clear. While the locust is a terrifying force of nature that can bring nations to their knees through famine, its threat is to our resources. The mosquito's threat is to our very lives. The sheer scale of death and disease caused directly by mosquitoes surpasses the indirect harm caused by locusts. The constant, relentless pressure of mosquito-borne illness on global health, especially on the most vulnerable populations like children, is a tragedy that unfolds every single day. For this reason, the mosquito must be crowned the worst insect. It is the silent killer, the ultimate tiny terror.